It's not very innate. Most of us would prefer to be real comfortable and to get things fast. I mean, that's human. I think that's human nature, and I don't think that's wrong. There's some people that no matter what, they're hungry. You know, what I look for, you know, and we work people at all different levels. I mean, we have people that make millions of dollars. We have people that make $10,000 a month. And in the beginning, it's how hungry are we?
Welcome back to the Connected Mindset Live, where we fuse art, science, and magic to help you connect to your best life. That's a little shout out to my boy, Rob Deerdeck. If you like this show and you have not checked out Build with Rob, I definitely recommend you check it out. We're going to put a link in the comments here so you can go check out all the great things Rob and his team are doing over at the Deerdeck Machine, the Machine Mindset. If you haven't seen it, it's revolutionary. I'm your host, Greg Tomczyk. Each week, we bring you the stories and strategies to help you better connect with the world around you. Most of us feel connected, but we're more disconnected than ever, and that's what this show is all about. We have Mr. Joe Blackburn with us this morning. Going to dive into a lot of topics, but Joe, you know where we like to start. What mission are you on, and what are you hoping that each person viewing, listening, checking this out later on when it's on YouTube, on LinkedIn, walks away with?
Well, I'm on a mission to teach the art of word of mouth marketing. And I've built 4 businesses doing that. And I think it's something that's missing in the world today, helps us be more connected. And that's what we're trying to do. And I also hope that after hearing the story, some people, if they've got something they really want to do, they take that leap of faith.
I love it. I love it. We all kind of need that push at different stages, different seasons of our life. And we need, I heard something the other day that whether you have faith or fear, you're putting your belief in something, and it's your choice in order to choose which one you want to go with. And we're going to talk a lot about faith because you have to have the faith to take that first step. But I think, word of mouth is something I've heard throughout my business career, throughout, my baseball days, ways I could get word of mouth that I'm a good player, a good business person, have good values. Interested in how you came across, how word of mouth came into your life and showed up, where you were like, this is how you should build businesses, and, kind of started to run with it.
Sure. Well, when I first started in business, I was an insurance agent, and my boss at the time would get out a county plat book and map out all the farms and just make me go farm to farm. And I would jump out of my 96 Tacoma looking for the gun or the dog, trying to introduce myself to farmers. By the way, that's a skill set. You don't want to get shot or bit. And sell life insurance and long-term care and all the different products throughout insurance. And then I felt like I moved up and went to Edward Jones and went door to door in town, which was a little safer. And then I was recruited by Merrill Lynch, and it was just a different mindset and more of a consultative field to start giving true financial advice. And I started working with different coaches and different, leaders in the industry, and learned that it was, more effective to get people to know, like, and trust you and become a long-term client versus just a transactional customer. So I really started, working on those skill sets. And over the last 25 years, doing a lot of different businesses, but even running a $120 million business at Merrill with, 145 advisors and 200 employees and all the things that you think are the greatest thing on earth. Really the same principles around getting people to know, like, and trust you, and then starting a business relationship versus maybe jumping out of the bushes or your truck and just trying to sell them something.
Right. Yeah. Everybody feels that when they're just, it's like, hey, I'm Greg, and here's the sales pitch. You're just kind of like, are you a person or are you a robot? And I'm interested in what you took away from door-to-door sales when, you saw a transition in the industry where people weren't really doing door-to-door, and you could always go back to that skill set, if phones went away or if email went away. So you had that skill set that was already developed, but a lot of people today in the sales force, in any business, they don't have that experience of knocking on a door and somebody saying, like, cocking their gun and saying, like, go away.
Yeah. Well, it makes everything else easier. Yeah. So I highly, if you've never done it, at least try it once. you know, I don't want to say bad things about it. I think especially as a young salesperson, it's phenomenal because you're doing something that most people won't do. You know, you're flexing a courage muscle every day. Unfortunately, and the great Nick Murray said this, courage is like vitamin C. You don't store it. So just because it worked on that door, you still got to muster up the courage to go to this door.
Yeah.
So I think it taught me how to, you know, face my fears and overcome things and do something that, you know, I looked around and there was no one else doing it. And I learned a lot from it. I actually, you know, it kind of becomes a game. It was kind of fun at times. It's just, you know, I think as you grow as a professional, it's not where you die. You know, you don't end up like, hey, I'm going to go back out and door knock. Now, I will tell you, it's invaluable. Like you said, if in what I teach, we call it the punt. You know, if I've got a punt, I'll just go do it. And I'm not, but that's not where I start. Like if we were talking football terms, you don't punt on first down.
Right.
You run your plays and try to score. But if I have to, I'll give you the ball back. And I think I recommend whatever it is that would flex that muscle to do it often so that you condition yourself to do bigger things.
Yeah, I like that analogy. You don't punt on the first down. And I think a lot of people give up on themselves before the person on the other side of the conversation gives up on them. And it should be the opposite, where you have the ability to go into it. If that person puts you down, then you're like, all right, I'm going to punt and go to the next situation. But if you don't have that internal fuel, and I know today, you know, you help people to garner and grow that. Do people have that by default, or is it a muscle?
It's not very innate.
Yeah, right.
Most of us would prefer to be real comfortable.
Yeah.
And to get things fast. I mean, that's human. I think that's human nature, and I don't think that's wrong. There's some people that no matter what, they're hungry. You know, what I look for, you know, and we work with people at all different levels. I mean, we have people that make millions of dollars. We have people that make $10,000 a month. And in the beginning, it's how hungry are you?
Yeah.
And if you're not, it's really hard because, you know, like they used to say back in the old days, you have to work half days. That's 12 hours. I don't think there's a lot of people that are used to putting in a 12-hour day. And plus with the internet, I've actually seen people say you can work 4 hours a day and be super successful. I've never actually met someone that's done that, but I've heard it. And maybe in some businesses you can. If you're a professional and you have to do sales and marketing to run a business, it's pretty difficult to do that. In the beginning, there may come a point. I mean, I know some successful people that working is how you define it. I mean, am I laboring or am I thinking about my business and being strategic? I mean, there's a difference there, but it's not something that you wake up in the morning, like, I'm going to go get out on that doorstep or I'm going to make this call. You know, we, like anything else, I would say do it first, you know, and we call it prime time. Like prime time is like 8 o'clock in the morning till 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because if you put it off to 1 o'clock, it's not happening. You'll get busy. You'll find something else to do. I promise.
Yeah. Especially as a business owner, because things come up, you know, you're trying to serve clients and man. So when it comes to the wealth side, so it's very competitive, at least from what I've seen. There's a lot of people selling similar products. How do you differentiate yourself? And we'll kind of get into the word of mouth side and how people can start to think about that a little bit differently. But how do you differentiate yourself in that market to get people to know, like, and trust you when when the people next to you competing with you are trying to do the same thing? What was your approach there, or is your approach?
Well, I think one of the things you have to pay close attention to, and, you know, people say guru. I'm not opposed to them. I consider myself a practitioner. I mean, I just built another 7-figure business with my phone. Yeah. So I'm actually doing it. It's not something I did 5 years ago or 10 years ago, but I have experience in that. From the wealth perspective, if you for a second think it's easy or that it's quick, and if 10 years or 15 years or 20 years is quick, probably it is, you can do it in a decade. And I'm talking, I mean, first of all, define wealth. Is that a certain amount of money? Is that being able to do what you like, when you like, with whom you like? I mean, it may be a combination of both. It's hard to do the second one without the first one, by the way. Some people say I don't care about money, but to do that part, you pretty much have to have a lot of it. I think what differentiates what I talk about, number one, is it's simple. Like I actually, and here, I'm pretty sophisticated, Greg. So like I have like an infographic
Nice.
here,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh
like
yeah.
most
Yeah.
people neglect the gusher and try to start dabbling in real estate, buying another
Yeah.
business,
Mm-hmm.
doing, meme stocks or some intricate Bitcoin, when you should try to maximize what you're capable of. Your
Yeah.
greatest asset and wealth is your ability to earn. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm guilty of that. I have, I mean, if a squirrel ran by here right now, I'd look at it because I have shiny object syndrome. Like I'd be like, oh, really? There's something out like, and I've been down that path, and I learned that one the hard way, especially coming out of corporate America, where you got airbags all around you.
Yeah.
There's no airbags out here, so
Mm-hmm.
like you go down a road too far, there may be at the point of no return. So it's really about getting laser focused on, I call it the gusher, on what you're
Mm-hmm.
great at. You got to find it. Like, you pitched. Like
Yeah.
batters have a wheelhouse. Did you throw it to them there?
No.
No. But
Yeah.
if you put it in the wheelhouse, where'd they put it?
Yeah. Out of the park. Yeah.
Correct. So like
Yeah.
everybody's got a wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And I pretend like I can swing a baseball bat, but we both know I can't. But like if you can find your wheelhouse and put 95% of your time there and make that gusher as big as you can possibly get it, then you can talk about multiplying wealth it's like capital allocation,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know if we want to get in the weeds of like how, businesses and stocks and all that works, but numbers are easy. Like if you show me the numbers, it may make sense on paper, but I think people forget you got to make some decisions based on how much leverage do you want and what kind, people, time, money, all three. What type of return do you want? Do you want a dilution of return in the secondary market and securities? There's no time put into it. Someone else is doing it, but you get a dilution of return. Or do you want to deal with tenants? They're not fun. I can promise you that. Or do you want the ultimate headache and buy another business or add another business where you get all the problems?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like leverage, dilution, and headache. Weigh those.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I didn't, especially the headache.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. A lot of ibuprofen and acetaminophen.
Yes.
Man, yeah. I think a lot of people that I see that start companies do it because they think they're passionate about solving that problem, but they don't even think about, are they good at this thing, right? Or do they have the leverage? Can they make money? Can they, buy back time? Can they do all the things that we foresee when we start a business? For me, it was I went through the situation of a cyber attack, and I was like, I know what somebody goes through before the mindset and then after, and I can help people solve the before and the during and the after. And I'm like, I'm great at it. I can do it. And I know I can make money from this because people are spending X amount of dollars on it. So I have leverage to go off of. And then, I'm passionate about it because I felt the hurt. And I think those are the three elements that create a formula where then you start getting cash flow. Then you can put it towards other businesses once those headaches are away, which, I think we all get there at some point in time. Obviously things pop up. But I think that's clarity and from a business mindset, and not right when you get success hopping to that next business. I think a lot of us do that right when we get that first million. We're like, all right, where do we invest it?
Right.
As opposed to thinking a little bit slower. And I think that's the hard part about word of mouth for a lot of people, is it's not a quick process. It's not go tell Joe what Greg does, and all of a sudden Joe opens up his phone and then texts everybody in his phone to say, hey, Greg does this. It takes time. It takes cultivating.
Yeah, I describe it as crossing a bridge. I mean, I start with, hey, we know each other. It's like we're connected now.
Yeah.
We have a connection. Now let's earn some trust.
Yeah.
And maybe in there somewhere we like each other.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
And then, okay, then we can talk business. I mean, there's a way, if you are paying attention, that people will give you an opportunity to pivot to business. But if you lead with that, then they're going to be repelled.
Yeah.
So if they express a concern, and if I started complaining to you about my cyber attack issues, that might be a good time for you to say, hey man, I know we're on this live stream. However, at some point, not here, because that would be some emotional intelligence. This isn't the place for me to solve your problem. Let's grab 10 minutes and I can help you. So, it's something like, it's called the law of inadvertent sales. Like, if I try to sell to you, you're instantly defensive if I listen to you and listen for what impacts you, I can then help you. So, but if, I think you asked about my competitors. I don't know. I always go with the only competitors between my ears, but that's probably naive.
Right.
But it's the biggest one, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the one that is keeping me where I'm at and from where I want to go. But I think people tend to want to go right to product or solution. And yeah, that if you're playing the door knocking game, if you're playing the volume game, that might be the only way, because you're going in mass. Whereas when I say the word professional a lot, professional means I have an actual skill. And then I also have sales and marketing that bring my clients to me. I'm not just selling a thing or a product. Then you may want to go into the closing techniques and the 101s of how to run a meeting and we have that ability to help people with that. But this is more like, and I can't remember who said it, but like if you're in the sales conversation, like think of it, if I'm here, I have missed that, the most important thing is me, the product, then my marketing, and now I'm all the way here. Like if you get great at word of mouth, it's usually just like, you need to go talk to that guy. And then it's like, well, here's my problem. Could you please solve it because of who you are? Like the product is you.
Yeah.
Now, if you're just selling things, then you better, have ways to close. If it was just a script to close, everybody can memorize. We all did it as kids, right? Did you memorize anything? Like the Gettysburg Address or a poem like when I would just memorize and then get in front of people and memorize it. That's not how it works.
Yeah, it's a great point. I heard something recently. It was like the niche is you, or you are the niche. And I think a lot of people get so productized on, it's kind of like shoehorning in a solution. Like it's like, here's the conversation. We're talking about, baseball. And then all of a sudden it's like, you need our cyber monitoring tool because the baseball team has it. And I think a lot of people do that to me, like people trying to develop my website, or like just people trying to support me. And I'm like, how did we even get there? And my brain starts to get confused. And when a business owner or anybody that has a lot going on gets confused, they get pissed off and they want to leave. So
right. It's like frazzle them out.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I talk about pivoting. It's a timing issue. It's if it were all scientific, again, we just read scripts and follow the scientific formula. It's an art. You have to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, as the great Kenny Rogers said. And that takes reps. Like you're going to put your foot, if you try to do this, you are going to embarrass yourself. You're going to put your foot in your mouth. You're going to do something that pisses someone off. I mean, that's life. But the better you can get at sensing the right timing based on what they tell you. It's conversational. Like all of us have networked. Have you ever been in a networking group where like everybody knows who to do this to? Like everybody, like that person walks in and it's like, oh shit, excuse my language, but it's like, oh, like that, here he comes, or here she comes. You can't become that person.
Yeah, that's extremely true. So how do you define word of mouth? Because I told you the story pre-show on the professor I had in school, business school, that was like, word of mouth is like hope is a plan, and nobody builds a business off word of mouth. You need, the right ads. You need 5 years of company experience and track record and case studies. It's like, I don't want to build a company anymore. That sounds like way too hard, when I can just go talk to somebody that I trust and just say, hey, do you have these issues? What do you think I should do? All of those types of things. So how is word of mouth defined in Joe's brain today? And then how do you kind of help other people adopt that?
The way I would describe it is, anytime any person comes across the solution you provide that you've done for them, they immediately, without thinking, bring you up. So word of mouth would be, oh, you had a cyber attack? Call Greg, without me having to think of who to call. And you can condition that, by the way, if you have clients. And there's so think about it this way: people pay you for how they feel. Like that's all it is. I mean, if I feel great about this relationship, any relationship, by the way, I just celebrated my 20th wedding anniversary on Wednesday. Somehow I've gotten her to stick around for 20 years. She must like something. Like there's something in the experience of being married to me. I'm sure there's lots, but my point is, like any relationship, people pay and stay for how they feel. So there's a process around that that's more than just the end result of your product. It's the experience. Now, if you're like I said, if you want to go back to transactions, well, then that's it. Like, we're divorced economically from the outcome now.
Yeah.
You bought the product, good luck. But what I'm talking about is relationship based. So I teach something called pillars, and it's getting someone to pay you ideally to introduce you if you ask the right way. So I'll make an introduction, and that's how I start the conditioning mechanism for them to start thinking of my avatar. For them to, your brain's like a library. You remember those old things in the library? You pull them out and pull the card out. That's how your brain works. So I just want my psychic real estate in there. Like, oh, you need help with your business. You want to multiply your wealth. You want to learn how to do word of mouth. You call Joe. Like, that's the card I want.
Yeah.
So if I start asking properly for introductions, and then we like one another, and you actually listen to me as my client, like, you take my advice and don't argue all the time, and you're actually, like, okay, that's what I want to do. And then at the end, I start getting unsolicited referrals, the R. The unsolicited referrals are the end result of word of mouth. I don't have to ask anymore. I don't have to do anything. It's in there because of the experience and the service and the whole ecosystem we've created, so that anytime you know someone or yourself, you need it, it's us, it's me. And notice there's no A in there, because I don't work with assholes. So there's no, you can't have a professional business and deal with that. Just eliminate them. So as you start to build out pillars, there's different ways to feed that. I mean, you have connections. So there's people you're connected to, on LinkedIn, Facebook, Insta, your cell phone, just, friends from high school. I don't know. I mean, you're connected. You have 1,000 or 2,000 people that you think you know.
Yeah.
And then there's influencers where maybe you and I benefit financially from the same person. So you have trust, know, like, and trust already coming to the gate, because it's coming from someone they already know, like, and trust, and pay. And then there's big hitters in the world that are big influencers. And it doesn't have to be online. I mean, like, we all live in communities, towns. You live in Virginia Beach, and I'm in Normal, Illinois. There's big hitters around. So when they're involved in something, it attracts. So that's like, here, I know I'm, again, sophisticated. That's what that looks like.
Yeah.
And it's a flywheel. So to get the word of mouth going, you have to get the wheel going. And that can be done through events, how you provide service, your actual hygiene, meaning, like, oh, by the way, the product, the platform, it has to be great. That's expected.
Yeah.
That's a no-brainer. Like, that should be like, no kidding. That's good. Like, if I'm your client, I didn't buy the 5th best.
Yeah.
So that's how I would explain getting word of mouth going, and then you put a process around that.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. That's it's digestible for people. And a lot of people have ideas. There's a lot of what I call idea junkies, where they're just, they're hopping from the next lily pad, as I call it, to the other idea based off of what somebody tells them they need. And it's hard for them to find the consistencies. And when you go to somebody and you're selling so many different things, it makes it hard to do, business with you. And you want to be known for that card of word of mouth. If you said, hey, I want to run the whole sales process, I want to do it for you, and here's what it is. It's like, well, whoa, I think of sales very complex. Like, it's like, you got to have your website, you got to have the ads, you got to have somebody on the phones, you got to have somebody that is an inbound person that tells them the right solution. And so having that clarity, I think, is important for a lot of people listening in. Is like, you have to choose something specific, and not confuse the person you're trying to go after, and be very clear. I think that's a key pillar I see as building trust, is that clarity. And that shows that you're competent and good at what you do, because you know how to explain it, and you're not confusing them, because when we get confused, we run the other direction.
Right.
And I think that helps with word of mouth when you have that specificity.
Yeah. A lot.
What about so after you got out of the Merrill Lynch business, what was the next rendition of Joe? Like, where were you headed next? What was the idea to take those skill sets? Because I know word of mouth was one of them, but you obviously developed, an understanding of wealth management, an understanding of leadership and how to manage people, an understanding of how to manage a portfolio that somebody depends, puts their life on. and it's relatively fragile, and they were trusting you with that. What was your thought process on pivoting and transitioning out of that?
Well, and I left for a myriad of reasons,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know the names of interest in that, so we need to
Mm-hmm.
talk about it. But mostly because I hate red tape and bureaucracy,
Yeah.
and that's just. And by the way, you get what you ask for, so no one's fault, not the company's fault, all on me.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked at it as why I went into leadership, and what I loved about it was helping people and developing people. I really loved like recruiting, developing leader. I mean, I love that. Coaching.
Mm-hmm.
However, as an executive, that's not what you do all day. Surprise, that ain't what you do all day.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time you're talking to legal and HR and putting fires out, and in big organizations it's lowest common denominator, because you have to manage the risk to the lowest, or the that level, and that's okay. It's just not what I loved.
Yeah.
So when I started thinking about taking the leap, I started investigating because I enjoyed coaching, and I actually purchased it's Brian Tracy's franchise, FocalPoint. It's a great platform. It's great materials. And I just really resigned at Merrill, sat on, in garden leave for 2 months, and then just started coaching. And I did one-on-one, and I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a great platform. I still have connections there and everything. What I wanted to do with my time, I call it the 95-5. I wanted to spend 95% of my time really doing what I was passionate about.
Yeah.
So I started there, and then of course I got other interests, shiny object.
Mm-hmm.
I tried an acquisition business. That was awesome during COVID, by the way.
Really?
I had, like everyone else online, I had some real estate.
Yeah.
Until I had to deal with tenants. Hated that. Not to say I'll never do that again. I might, but just what I realized was I brought it back to what I really wanted to do, and what I felt like, and my wheelhouse was, like I talked about, like I feel like I'm really good at getting people to do the things they don't think they can do.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. And I don't even know if I can teach that part of it, but a lot of the people that are in our masterminds and in our groups, they're doing things they never thought they could do. So, and
Mm-hmm.
part of it is, I had 5 kids. My wife had breast cancer, and I left all income, all benefits, all stock that I left. I mean, I was too young. I didn't hit the real 60. I was 42 in 15 years.
Yeah.
So all that work gone, everything zero. So by the way, when you do your must, like I had to make it work, because I had 5 mouths to feed immediately. Like that was so that type of leverage on myself. I mean, you burn the boats. Like there was no turning back.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I started on the path. And then one of the things I realized was I'm having like the same conversation 20 times a week. So I started, I mean, you know what I mean? So like you start thinking, okay, how do I leverage that for the outcome of the clients? I think you asked me about competition. One of the things you want to pay real close attention to, who's winning in that business arrangement? Is it the marketer, or are the clients getting results? Because I've seen a lot of marketers make $100 million that could give to whatever if you make it or not. They just want your money. I'm tied at the hip. Like if you don't win, I don't win. So I went in, I started building out a mastermind and a different platform, and I can reach more people, and they can benefit from each other.
Yeah. Yeah, like that. How important is it to, you said burn the boats, but be in that situation where you have to persevere? I just see so many people that are considered successful, or they're making, a couple million, or they're, in the upper 100 millions. And to what they put out in the world is like, I did this comfortably because they're comfortable now, and they don't talk a lot about burning the boats. And I think everybody has gone through something similar, but I think being in that situation is what gives you the momentum to skyrocket and really get on the fast track.
I can't speak for anyone, but I'll give you an observation. When I took the leap, there were, and I started doing coaching, and it was the only way we could feed the family and the only way to make money. And by the way, there's some ego involved in there, because everyone back where I was at told me I was an idiot. My boss told me I had thrown my career away and ruined my life in the same sentence.
Oh God.
You've thrown your career away and you're ruining your life. He told me that. And that's stuck with me.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, neither of those things happened. However, there were moments where you're like, oh my gosh. Anyway, I saw other people that maybe were, so I was pretty young. I was 42. I don't know if that's considered young these days, but I was young enough. But I saw some people get into that where it was kind of like their hobby. And they probably had a good track record and skill set. They stunk though, because they didn't have to do it.
Yeah.
So they made no, like, by the way, the average business coach in America makes like, I don't know, probably what, 40 grand, 50, I don't even know what it is. Like, it's not a lot. And I think it's because there isn't the pressure there. And great people, terrible in the business because you still have to market.
Yeah.
Like or you go work for someone, but then you're not really like, you can go back and work for someone. That's fine. But I saw that a lot where it's just like, I was good at this. I liked leading. Now I'm going to come out here. And then the paradigm shifts. Those people that were forced to be in your meetings, now you have to get them to pay you to be there. That's a big difference.
Right. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So yes, burning the boats. I would say in any situation, the more leverage you have on performance, the better, because by default we're comfort seekers. So if it's that would be nice. I don't have people running around me begging me to be doing business with me either, because everyone's okay being okay. I've seen my wife battle cancer. I would argue complacency is longer and more painful. Just being okay. I'm gonna, my goal is to get up and get to bed. That's not like, even for me at 42, when I'm thinking I'm making whatever I was making at Merrill, running someone else's play, stressed out of my mind. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
I can go make millions of dollars doing my own thing. Like, I don't need this. But I have a lot of friends back there, and if they hear this, I doubt they will, because they don't pay attention to me anymore. But if they did, they're miserable. They're freaking miserable. I called myself the executive whisperer when I first left, because I was out of the circle now. Now I get a text like I'm miserable. I'm whining. It's like, hey man, you choose to be there. That's your choice. You're responsible for you. You for you. You for them. You're responsible for you. You're responsible for them, which is your family. Though, 100% responsibility. So anyway, I'm rambling. I'm gonna slow down.
No, I love it. Yeah, it's extremely valuable, and I think when you get out of that seat where they're paying you, where you're paying, your job is to be in a meeting with them, and then now you have to approach them and say, I want to create enough value where you now pay me to bring this to you. How do you think people make that transition and be able to communicate that value when the buyer, the customer, is so used to, like you said, kind of just being okay with being okay, and trying to get them out of that mindset of, you need to be better, and I want you to be better, and I can help you get better.
Well, it's kind of like, most people, if they don't go to the doctor, don't realize it's not something killing them.
Yeah.
But it is a slow burn. And it is deep inside. So if you can start to talk to people about what's really important to them and where they really want to be. And also, I would say everyone grossly underestimates, and I've spent years in financial services, so I can say this with a lot of authority. People grossly underestimate the amount of money they need to do anything. And it's like twice as much as whatever you're thinking. If you're out there today and you think I need X much, double it, at least. Like, here, I'll ask you a question that will help drive that home. How many people retired 10 years ago expected what's happening today? Every single thing they want costs more by a lot, and it wasn't CPI, Consumer Price Index inflation. It's astronomical. So I think what you have to get people to understand is where we truly are and what it's going to take. And oh, by the way, and I don't want to solve too many problems, you think you're going to live as long as your parents, or maybe with the technology you've witnessed, they're going to keep you alive for a while? I mean, mortality tables in life insurance have gone to 130, 130 years. That doesn't mean you're going to live 130. It's just their calculate. So when I talk to someone, especially they start giving me the I'm okay, I try to open their eyes to the fact that you are today, but you aren't for this long. And here's something that no one really wants to address. No one's coming to help you. You're a business owner. You think look at who in the world is getting assistance or help in growing. You ain't on the list. So you're on your own. No one's I've seen it on the internet. No one's coming to save you, man. Like no one's coming. You better do it yourself. Or you can go work for a company, and that's okay. I mean, like that's okay. You can get great in sales. I mean, there's people in Merrill Lynch doing great. I mean, crushing it. So it doesn't. I mean, the vehicle is somewhat relevant, but the mindset of I'm just going to make it. I'm okay. That's a pacifier. And that's dangerous, especially if you're 30 to 50, like that, because you're in the tail end of X and you're kind of becoming an adult. If you're 30, kind of. I'm sure I've reached adulthood. I'm 48. But like that swath, that's the danger zone, man. Because and as much as I beat myself up in my 20s in every way possible, I'll probably live to be 110 unless I have the Widowmaker, which doesn't even kill you anymore.
Yeah. Oh man, that's good. I like that. I like the you're okay today, but will you be in X amount of time? Because a lot of people don't think like that. It's like, hey, I'm comfortable. I'm sitting on my couch. I'm watching Netflix. I'm scrolling. I'm comfortable right now. I'm getting a bunch of dopamine hits, so I don't need to think about the future.
Oh, it's a lull. They're gonna lull you into. I hope you like your pod. I don't want to go down that road.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. There's a lot of things to unpack there. I think a good takeaway on the bringing people together, the mastermind side. A lot of people in our audience still haven't done what I look at as a mastermind. They meet with people in the community. They go to networking events. They try to sell their solution, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I've seen the benefit of masterminds. How do you describe what a mastermind looks like that is right for you, and how to find that group that can really supercharge both your personal and professional life? Because I think it's dual-headed. It's not just one or the other.
Well, so in ours, the mantra is maximize your income, multiply your wealth, and make your family indestructible. And it's called the Lion. So there's a lot of components there. There's a couple. I would describe it this way. One, a lot of us assume a mastermind is something like where I go and there's 10 speakers. That's not a mastermind. That's a concert. That's an event. Like and it's great. I think those are cool. Like go get some good info or whatever, and that's awesome. But don't kid yourself that that's a mastermind. Someone may call it that. It isn't. I call that the parade. You just went to a parade and felt great. Awesome. Those are cool. But what a mastermind does is it brings everyone together. I mean, the technical definition is you create a super conscious. It's a group of people trying to do the same thing so that you create a consciousness above your own. So if you're in a cattle call, that would be so you see these other ones. If there's 1,500 people in your mastermind, I'm pretty sure that's a town. Like that's not a mastermind. So like you have to have a connected relationship with the other people. And the other thing I would say is be super careful if it's like industry specific or if it's corporately sponsored, because you're going to get a lot of groupthink and a ton of bias from the corporation. I know this because I worked for one and we would bring people in and do this. And we were just trying to combine and weave in our strategy. So like in my mastermind, for example, it's people from all over the country with different industries, and some are similar, but not all. So what you get, especially in that situation, is you want people that are going to be deadly honest with you. We call it the mustard principle. Mustard principle says this: Greg, if you and I went to lunch and you had a big glob of mustard on your chin, and I'm sitting across from you, and you had a live stream at 1, and I was just like, hey man, great to see you. And I didn't say anything to you, and you pop on, and you get a big ass thing of mustard on your. That's not me adhering to the mustard principle. The mustard principle is, hey Greg, you got mustard on your chin. And in the mastermind, that's a place to do it. It's like, I'm going to tell you the unvarnished truth because I care about you and I want you to succeed. and I'm going to give you an unbiased opinion. I have no dog in the race of what you do versus everything else. It's probably got some motive, and the motive for the members is to, have a relationship and grow faster than they would have on their own. So there's power in it. And like I said, when I started, it's not like I came up with a mastermind. Hell, Napoleon Hill wrote about it 100 years ago in Think and Grow Rich. So like, I'm not pioneering this. It's just what I realized was I was having all these isolated conversations that, like, okay, I'd have it at 9:00 on Monday. Well, throughout my week, if everybody would have heard that and talked about it and iterated it, then the leverage is so much bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoy it. Our next one is, I know you're big base and you played Cardinals Farm League,
Mm-hmm.
which is more than any of us could ever even attest to as athletes. I guarantee you. Our next one's in St. Louis at the Hilton Ballpark. We're going to watch Cardinals homestand at night, every night on the rooftop. And everyone's looking forward to it. They're flying in from all over. We work hard during the day and do hot seats and spotlights and all the different, and I do some teaching and stuff, but I don't parade a bunch of speakers in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want to go to a concert, like, there's better bands. And then we meet as a group every other week, and we do some one-on-one coaching, and we've got a community and a platform. So it's like, it becomes its own organism, and there's some pride in it. Like, there's some status. Like, not everybody gets in this thing, man.
Yeah.
And it's fed by the members, by the way, which would be word of mouth.
Yeah.
So I enjoy it. Like, and I don't even like people that much.
Yeah.
Like, just
But you like the super conscious. I love the super conscious that you mentioned, because the right groups that you become a part of, it's like once you start to stray down the wrong path, you plug back in and you're like, all right, here's what I said I was going to do. And here's what this person did in this situation. And
well, we post wins on Wednesday. Wins are for Wednesday. And like, if people aren't posting, like, there's other people will jump in the messenger and be like, hey man, what the hell?
Yeah.
Like, they're not babysitting you, but it's more so because they want, like, winning's contagious. We've all somewhat participated in sports or something in our lifetimes. Winning's a momentum. It's contagious. And so is losing. Like, look at the Cardinals right now. They stink.
Yeah. We call that.
I'm not sure it's because of their athleticism.
Yeah, it's momentum. It is how you make the team feel. So like, if one guy's slumping and he's like just the dark child and of energy in the locker room, people feel that and they don't want to buy that, and then they're like, why are we going out on this field and playing every day? And then it's a trickle effect. I think the same's in business. Like,
100%.
You have to create that consciousness from the inside out, as I like to say. It's like, if you're high energy and you have positive energy, you're optimistic, you're plugged into a super conscious like this, your team feels that even if they're not involved in it.
Yeah. And we have a ton of fun too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hell, we went to St. George, Utah and rode razors out in the desert, and I didn't want to do it. Well, once you're there, it's kind of like, oh, that's pretty sweet. So we, it has a vibe to it.
Mm-hmm.
Versus the one-on-one's great, by the way. So like, I started there, you get great results, and some people just prefer that, and that's cool. Whatever. But if you want to surround yourself with people that are as hungry as you are, find one for that.
Yeah.
There is the key. If it's a social hour all the time, that's, it's not fun. At Christmas, we had a professional blackjack dealer do a Zoom blackjack. It was phenomenal. And then you got chips awarded to you, and it was fun as hell.
Wow.
But that was Christmas.
Yeah.
So like, it's business, it's social. I would highly recommend you do that. And I had this, actually, a guy said this to me yesterday. So I already have that with my group here in town, blah, blah, blah. And that's probably true. He's got a group of people that support him and everything. But you got to remember one thing. There's no real accountability, and there's no motive, and there's no leverage in that. You don't have any skin in the game financially with your group of friends.
Mm-hmm.
Remember talking about burning the boats? You want to burn the boats? Put 50 grand in a mastermind.
Yeah.
I promise you'll get it out. Because you have. Why? Yeah. Because you have to.
Yeah.
So I think it's okay to do the corporate ones or your friend group or whatever it is. But if you want the real deal and you want like accountability, strategy, you want to do it faster with less mistakes and a lot more fun, get around a group of people that have skin in the game and want you to win. and it'll go. I know it'll go faster.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I like how you said the mustard principle. That hits me deep, because you go to a lot of groups and it's all feel good, right? It's like, I did this in my business, or I did that, and they don't abide by the mustard principle. It's like in baseball, I wanted people, and it wasn't comfortable, I wanted people to tell me that I sucked. Like I would ask them, so many times, what do I need to improve on? What do I need to improve on? Like, tell me where I need to get better. And when I got into the business world, it was very hard, especially in the local community and even like regional and up to DC, where people would just not make me feel good about my business. And I'm like, I don't want to feel good about this. If I'm comfortable, we're not growing at a rate that I want to be at. Like, we're not gaining momentum. We're just slowly, driving down the road at the speed limit, and we're, looking to the side and smiling and waving, and we're not going to get anywhere fast. We're just going with the crowd. So I like that mustard principle, because the way I started to feel my business grow is I found individuals, and very few of them, that were like, here is your problem. And maybe that's not the one problem, that's just the problem they see. But I needed people to tell me I had the mustard on my chin, and I needed to improve in this way for me to get better for my business and for my personal life. And I think that principle is not weighted heavy enough in groups people look for. They look for more comfort than they have, because running a business can be stressful. And if people are like, hey, you're doing great, like, keep doing what you're doing, it's like, it gets frustrating.
If you're in a group and everyone's telling you you're doing great all the time, you're in the wrong group. Just so you know.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you have to be punitive to people, but like, if like, oh man, you're awesome all the time, like something's up. Like and you can have fun with, like, because I facilitate and lead it, I have a lot of fun with it. I have no qualms about pulling the mustard off your chin. But that's what I'm there for. And and by the way, we've had some tenuous moments, and that person then really appreciated it. It's something they didn't want to hear. And then when they heard it after their feelings, normalized, they're like, hey man, that's game changer stuff. That's where the money's at, when people can help you do that. So.
So somebody's out there, starting a company, just starting out, maybe they're leaving a corporate job. Maybe they're getting out of college. They're like, hey, I feel like I know I can sell this to a number of people. How do they get started with that first, conversation? Try to make word of mouth the cornerstone of their business.
Yeah. Well, that's a very good question. You can always punt, and you may have to, because like, you watched a football game, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, the offense doesn't score in every play. They don't score in every series. They punt, which is part of the strategy. The best way to do that, and I call this the announcement. I did this, by the way, when I left Merrill. I put out on LinkedIn and Facebook an announcement, but it was arranged in the way that it put into your mind who I help. So if I can define who it is I'm actually serving in that, and I'm not soliciting, I'm not like putting a link here, like click here if you want a 10-minute. That's not an announcement. That's a solicitation. The announcement is I'm starting to let people know what it is I'm doing, but more importantly, who it is I'm serving. And the more precision you have on that, the clearer it becomes in those people's mind, and they can only have one of three reactions. So I did it via text through Hit 'em Up, which is an unbelievable app. It's like $60, and you can text everyone in your phone. Now it loads it, and you got to hit send. So if you have like 1,400 people on your phone, like I did, and you can keep some people out, but it's like, I don't know, $69 or something. But you announce that way. You can go on to LinkedIn and put in Messenger, or put on LinkedIn what you're doing, or insert whatever it is. You can hit all the people you think you know with what it is you're doing, and more importantly, who it is you're serving, so that they get that picture. And again, the first reaction, and the most common one, and everyone's going to get it, is a nicey nice. Oh, Greg, that's awesome. You were playing baseball, and now you're doing this. I always knew you'd run a business. That's so good. Because people on the surface pretend to be nice to you. Remember how I said that, by the way?
Yeah.
I mean, they'll nicey nice you. But I will tell you this. You've planted a seed in them, and maybe if that opportunity, that avatar, that service opportunity presents itself, they'll think of you. I call that a boomerang. I had that happen to me like 2 years later. I had my cell phone rings, and they're like, hey, Joe, I need you to talk to this person. I'm like, who is this? I didn't even know you're paying attention to me. Like, that's a boomerang. or they just go on about their business and, you know, you stay friends or whatever. The second one is they're like, I know somebody. You hit in my mind a person that needs what you do. Here, talk to them, and you can try to arrange an introduction. Now, that person isn't thinking of you, so they're going to be like, you know, that's a little bit of a jump out of the bush, but it is coming from someone that's a connection, so it's a little warmer. Mm-hmm. But where it gets real poignant is when it's them. If you can describe them to them and the problem you solve for them, they're going to be like, dude, why not me? My first client was my insurance agent. I had to tell him before I left because I had to get insurance for my business. Right. He's like, what the hell? I need that. That's my first client. Yeah. Before I even like walked out the door, he's like, as soon as you can, let me know. So like, again, 3 reactions. So if you're in the coldest place in the universe, which is I have nothing, I'm starting at ground zero, get good at announcements and commentary. Now, some people call that copywriting. I don't copyright. So I don't talk about stuff I don't do, by the way. Yeah. Lauren, my chief of staff, said we have to hire a copywriter. Mm-hmm. I'm not seeing it, but she swears we need it. So Lauren, when you see this, I'll probably do it because you said so. But learn how to give commentary. Learn how to be, you know, being connected with people. By the way, it gets lonely as a business. I text people all day long. Yeah. I have a whole texting process. It's called ACAP. So, I mean, like, I get one of those 3 in the beginning. And then if I get nothing from that, which is highly improbable, like I replaced my salary in the first 60 days because I had to, and I did the announcement well. So I had, you know, people say, oh, yeah. I had one guy, buddy of mine, who actually sparked my mastermind. He's like, became a client, and then like 3 months in, he goes, I thought I was doing you a favor, and this shit actually works. He just felt bad for me. Yeah. Yeah, trying to help you out. Yeah, and he's like, this is, you know, I have the text. I mean, he texted me. He's like baffled that it was actually working for him. And he's worth $15 million now. He just texted me. He makes $150 a month. And he was in a different universe. So it does, I mean, it works. But my point is, it was kind of funny that like he was doing a pity. So you may get that. You may get some charity, which isn't the worst thing in the world. Yeah. But if you can, you know, like in our assassins, which is probably that group you're talking about, it's more the people that they have some experience. They may have a handful of clients, but they're trying to get into the high 6 figures, cross 7 figures or whatever it is. They're in that boat. You know, they don't have a big enough book of clients or people. So they're trying to grow rapidly where if you can, and you can make announcements on anything. You can, so I use the word announcement. It's not like it's rocket science. It's just ways of letting people know. And then if you can follow up, that's great. But if you start trying to sell to them, like there's companies out there that say, you know, ask them for 3 people they know. Well, that's dumb. Yeah. Because now you just gave me work. Like, I don't want to work. But if you source a name from them or you do your homework and you say, hey, I see you're connected to Greg. I'd really like to meet him. What's the best way? Text or coffee? Yeah. I won't talk any business. I just want to get to know him. I'm in the people business. Mm-hmm. Which, by the way, we're all in the people business. Yeah, we are. Like, that's how you get that ball rolling. Now, if you have time at the end of the month where you've gone through that, you can't hit everybody up like you have to have, again, it's an art, it's not a science. Like the art is, I don't ask you yesterday and Friday or what, you know what I mean? Like we'll teach that. So if I have what I call white space at the end of the month, then go out and get on a doorstep, then punt. Don't feel busy work with that. Then flex that courage muscle, then get creative, put an event on. Like we have all kinds of strategies for that, but it's after. It's you've heard me use it in football. It's a progression. My first down is my warmest, my existing clients. Then it's the people I'm connected to. Then it's my influencers, and then it's big hitters. And on 4th down, I can either go for it or I can punt the ball. So if I punt, and there's no shame in that. Eventually, you stop punting. Mm-hmm. You know what? I know you can tell by looking at me. I was a college football player. I know that was your first thought. But I'm old enough to where the West Coast offense, my senior year, became the thing. So we went from and I played defense because I'm smart and talented. However, the I formation kind of went out of favor. Yeah. And we went out and recruited a bunch of kids and did all this stuff around the West Coast offense. There was one problem. We couldn't run the freaking dive through the A gap. If you can't do that, you can't run the West Coast offense. Yeah. Like you have to have a threat that I can hand the ball off and be dead, like hurt you. We didn't have that, so it hurt us. And I think that's what people try to do in business, where they're like, I'm going to do all these shiny objects and I'm going to, buy this in real estate and be an acquisition entrepreneur and blah, blah, all this bullshit. Run the dive through the A gap.
Yeah.
Do that first and get great at that and build your gusher on that. Then you can do everything else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's all good. Yeah.
It came out of me.
No, I like the passion. What is a gusher? When you say gusher, is that the cash cow? Is that the thing?
That's the thing that you do that no one else can do. It's your true greatness. It's your wheelhouse, and you do that all the time. You said it before. Well, I did that. Well, I'm gonna go do something else. We get bored easily.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of that. I'm horrible at it. Ask if Lauren ever gets interviewed on one of these, she's gonna tell you the freaking 50 ideas I give her a day. It's like, so do the thing you're great at and just do it over and over, and then show someone else how to do it. Yeah. We have a whole process around identifying what is that. Where does my greatness lie? Not everybody's great at talking to people. Not everybody's great at planning for people, but you're great at something. You have a gift. Find it, and then pour gas on that fire, and do everything you can to not get distracted, and build it as big as you can humanly do it, as long as you can tolerate it. Some people some people are like, I don't want to do this anymore. I personally, true story, I did financial services. Well, I was a financial advisor for a long time, but quite frankly, and I hope none of them hear this, I got bored with bringing new clients in. It became boring to me. And so I enjoyed leadership. I really loved recruiting. I loved it. Like getting someone to completely change everything about their life, their business, their family, everything from here to here was exciting to me, and I loved it. And so I put the other thing on the back burner and brought a team in to handle my clients, because I was obligated to them. They put me where I was at. I couldn't just dump them. I wanted, some of them were actually my family, so that was important. But then I went into something that I loved it. Like I up early, strategizing, thinking how to get in front of it. And I'm not sure I was great at it. I had some success, but I freaking loved it.
Yeah.
So, and then I stopped loving it. Right? So it is, you're not going to start where you finish.
Yeah.
But don't try to do 10 things at once. That's all I'm saying. So,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yes.
So how can people plug into, I know we talked a little bit about Sales Assassins. We talked about the Mastermind. We talked about some of the coaching that you do. How can people get plugged in? What's the best place to start, and where can they find you?
RealJoeBlackburn.com is the easiest. Just go to RealJoeBlackburn.com. It's our website. Shout out to Big Red Jelly. They put it together for us out in Provo, Utah. Cool dudes. And they're BBGs. So yeah, that's the best place to find us. And again, I teach the law of inadvertent sales. So if someone does want to talk to us, you're just going to get a conversation. If what I do is something you're interested in, we'll go. But if not, part as friends. And if you ever hear me say best of luck, that means nice knowing you.
See you never.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But it's the bless your heart of my world.
Bless your heart. My Nana used to say that a lot. It's like, oh man, that's
you can tell how she thinks of you.
Yeah, that's a bad sign. Yeah, Joe, I want to acknowledge you for what you're putting out in the world. It's unique. It's very beneficial to me to hear it. As a business owner, I know the people listening in are going to get a lot of benefit, a lot of things to digest. I know they took some notes. Probably going to go back to the super conscious and be like, where do I plug into the super conscious? Because everybody needs that. And and the mustard principle really resonated with me, because one of the things I've found in my business is when people are brutally honest with me is where I thrive and where I'm happiest and where I grow most. So I love that. Joe, one of the last questions we like to ask folks that join us is, what does connection and being connected mean to you?
It means that you get me and we're willing to help each other. In any relationship, if we understand each other and we're willing to do something for the other for their benefit, that's the true connection.
Yeah, I love it. Joe, thanks so much for joining us, and looking forward to continuing the conversation.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.